So in this video, we're going to be solving for a variable. And sometimes it's necessary to use inverse operations to transform a formula or an equation for a distinct variable. In this case, we want to get the L by itself. So to do that, we need to undo a multiplication by 2, and we need to undo addition of 2w. So we're going to start by subtracting 2w from both sides. So now we've got p minus 2w equals 2l. And the last step, the final inverse operation that we need to use to get the L by itself, is to simply divide both sides by 2. So we have transformed the perimeter formula for a rectangle. We've solved it for L. L equals P minus 2W over 2. We're going to do it again. This time we have A equals P plus PRT. This is the formula for compound interest, or accumulated interest. So A equals capital P plus PRT, and we are trying to get the P by itself. This one is a little more interesting because we see that P appears twice in the given formula. So what that means is that P is the greatest common factor for the right-hand side. P is the GCF. Sometimes it's necessary for us to do factoring. And what we're going to do here when we factor out the P is we're going to be undoing the distributive process. So when we take the P out, P divided by P is 1. PRT divided by P is RT. So now for us to get the P by itself, since we just undid the distributive property, we will divide the entire quantity 1 plus RT away, and we will do that to both sides. So that entire factor cancels with that entire factor, leaving P equal to A over 1 plus RT. Two more problems. Given 1 over P plus 1 over Q equals 1 over F. It is our desire to solve for Q. So we can go a couple of different ways here. We could use our strategy that we've already discussed in previous videos of utilizing the common denominator to get rid of the fractions. Or we could start by multiplying everything just by Q. That would get the Q up into the numerator. I think I'm going to start though with multiplying by PQF. So PQF is the common denominator. So we're going to multiply everything by PQF. PQF. So that PQF gets distributed. So PQF times 1 over P, the P's cancel, we're left with QF. 1 over Q times PQF, the Q's cancel, and we're left with PF. 1 over F times PQF, the F's cancel, and we're left with PQ. So remember, we're trying to get the Q by itself. So we need to group together everything that has a Q. So these two terms need to be together. So I'm going to bring this term from the left over to the right. PF equals PQ minus QF. And just like in the previous video, we can now see that Q is the greatest common factor for the the right-hand side. So in this one, let's bring the Q out. So PF equals Q times PQ divided by Q leaves P. QF divided by Q leaves F. And now, just like in the previous problem, we can divide away this factor, dividing both sides by p minus f. And that allows us to solve for q. So finally, q equals pf over p minus f. So that allows us to solve for q. So just quickly reviewing, what did we do? We multiplied both sides of the equation by pqf, which is the least common denominator, to give us all the way down to q equals pf over p minus f. So that's that first one. I'm going to move the paper up. Let's take a good look at the one at the bottom. Our goal is to solve for y. Now, this is a little bit of foreshadowing of what is to come. We will be finding inverses of functions soon, and this is part of the procedure that entails in finding an inverse when you flip the x and the y. So if we want to solve for y, what's been done to the y? It's got 1 added to it. We're taking the cube root of it, and we also have subtraction by 4. So those are the three things that have to be undone in this particular formula. So we're going to undo the 4 first. It's outside the parentheses or grouping symbol. So x plus 4 equals the cube root of y plus 1. Now, in order for us to get inside of those grouping symbols, we need to undo the cube root. To undo a cube root, we will cube both sides. So the cube and the cube root are inverse operations. So that leaves us with y plus 1. And there is no need to simplify x plus 4 quantity cubed. Just leave it. Then finally, subtract the 1 from both sides. So y equals x plus 4 cubed minus 1. So that is solving for the variable using inverse operations. And that is the end of section 1.3.